Hi, my name is Karen. If you don't know who I am, I'm the artist from Art by Karen E. Haley on YouTube. Jennifer and I are doing a challenge today. We're collaborating where we are giving each other crazy animal names and doing the illustration in a video. So I am challenging Jennifer to make a crazy animal, and it took me quite a while to decide what the name was going to be. But Jennifer, if you could draw me a woolly rattle hog, I would really appreciate it. I love your art style, and I'd love to see what you come up with.
Hey guys, you heard it right. I am collaborating with the one and only Karen from Art by Karen E. Haley. She has challenged me to draw a woolly rattle hog. I wanted to show you a quick look into my sketchbook. I drew some of these designs and really didn't look at reference, so I decided I needed to kind of break the words apart and break the different creatures in the word apart and sketch them out. So I have a rattlesnake, a hog, and a mammoth, or woolly mammoth, and I used the best reference I could find online and sketched them out a little bit, so I was a little bit more familiar with the parts of the animal that I wanted to include in the finalized drawing. And this one on the left was my updated sketch now that I had some reference. So once I had that, I got out my watercolor paper and drew my design on the final piece. So for this piece, I am using my Koi watercolor set that I use pretty often, and a round brush in the size 4 and another round brush in size 10. So I can cover small detailed areas as well as the larger areas. And I decided, since this is sort of a mythical, made up sort of creature, that I was going to paint it however I wanted. So I decided to use my normal color palette of greens, blues, pinks, and purples to create sort of a pink and purple woolly rattle hog, because why not? So as I am painting here and I speed this up a little bit, I figured I would talk a little bit about this collaboration, because this is my very first collaboration, which is really exciting. And if you haven't checked out Art by Karen E. Haley and her channel, it's amazing. She does a ton of Copic and alcohol marker based illustrations, a lot of animals and Pokemon, and I know she has been creating a lot of her own original characters to help with tutorials for how to use markers, as well as for storytelling and practice her illustrations. I have been a fan of hers for quite a while, since before I started my channel, and I have really loved learning bits and pieces of how to use alcohol markers from her and watching her videos. As a lot of you may know, I am primarily a watercolor artist, and that's definitely why I stuck with that medium for this piece. But I am slowly but surely getting into alcohol markers, and they've been a lot of fun to experiment with. They can be quite the investment, and I've definitely been slowly investing and using some cheaper alternatives at first, but alcohol markers in general tend to act the same, and learning techniques from other YouTubers have been really helpful, and Karen has been a great resource for me. I actually really want to go back and watch a lot of her illustrations again, where she gives little nuggets of wisdom about how to layer colors and in general how to use alcohol markers to their best standard of use. And the exciting thing is, I know that she is right now working on an awesome Skillshare class, and she's putting together a tutorial of kind of an introduction to using Copics and alcohol markers, which I am really excited to look into. I know a lot of artists have been doing Skillshare partnerships and sponsorships recently on YouTube. I know it's really easy to want to judge YouTubers and art YouTube channels for doing sponsorships and things like that, but for so many, I know it is part of their income, and Skillshare is this really interesting and cool platform for teaching and learning. I have always been interested in school and classes and things like that, and I have taken art classes in the past, and I honestly really miss not being in art classes and being in school in general since I have graduated. And I am really hoping that I find some more time in 2018 to be able to sign up for Skillshare and take full advantage of these awesome classes. I think continuing your education in whatever field you're interested in, whether it's art or any hobby or your professional field that you're working in, is always really, really important. That's something that I've learned since I was very young, that I never want to get to a point where I want to stop learning. I feel like that is the best way to live life, is to always want to be a sponge for new information, and there is always something for you to learn. I honestly didn't plan a script for this video and figured I would sort of wing it, which doesn't always work in my favor, but I think talking about art education and things like that, I mean, education in general, is an interesting topic, at least for me, and I hope it is for you as well. I have considered putting together a video about getting an education in art if you want to be an artist, sort of the is art school worth it, or should you go to art school kind of conversation, which I feel has been pretty popular on YouTube, and I feel like there's a lot of the same kind of video out there, which is why I was hesitant in making my own video. But if you guys do want to hear my opinion on art education and art school and things like that, let me know down below and I will think about putting something together. And I figured I would talk a little bit more about the illustration and how I melded all of these animals together. So like I mentioned, I practiced these 3 animals that I sort of extracted from the prompt, which might not have been exactly what she was trying to prompt me on, but these 3 animals, the woolly mammoth, a rattlesnake, and a hog, were the 3 that I thought of combining. So I decided to start with a more or less large body like a woolly mammoth and make it very woolly and furry looking, as well as having large tusks, which a lot of hogs or warthogs have in common with mammoths. So I added that, as well as the hog ears and feet or hooves. And then the way I incorporated the rattlesnake was to have both a rattle at the end of the tail, a little bit of a tongue coming out of his nose, and the pattern itself going down the trunk all the way down to the tail. So at the end here, I wanted to come in with these very fine-tipped inking pens that I actually got from Daiso. They're definitely not expensive or maybe even intended for art making, but they have a really wide range of colors, and I believe the tip is like 0.28, so it's very, very thin, which I love for fine details. Since I've been going in with my line work after I have done the watercolor, it works really well because these are by no means waterproof, and they actually, They definitely have a lot of ink that pools and takes a really long time to dry, so that is something that I have to be really careful with, and while I was working on this piece I had to do it in a couple stages, but I really love the purple and the brown outline, and I thought it was an interesting technique. Okay, so we're getting to the end of the video now. I hope you enjoyed the making of this piece and this fun, newish kind of collab topic. It was really fun to come up with the names of the animals, as you will see in the beginning of this video and the beginning of Karen's as well. And before I end off here, I wanted to point you over to Karen's channel, and her collaboration video will be linked down below when it's ready. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm really excited to see what she came up with the prompt I gave her, which was a Hippolamasaurus. Thanks, Karen, for collaborating with me. As always, thanks for being here, and I hope you have a creatively fulfilled day. Bye, guys.